Hello and welcome back to Confessions of a Writer, or an aspiring writer, a hopeful writer, a writer who is learning how to do this whole business. This little one is Mew Mew. We call her our cow cat because she's black and white, but she has legs like a horse, so you know, she's a jack of all trades. So it's lovely to see you back here with me today. Thanks so much for joining me. And I just wanted to do a very personal, reflective video with you today, where I will continue to give some advice based on everything that I myself am learning, going through this whole journey of trying to become a successful writer, which is not the easiest thing to do. Sorry, I'm just going to lean a little. I feel like I'm in a leaning kind of mood today. And I wrote myself a sticky note, so if you see me peering down every now and then, it's so that I don't forget what I wanted to share with you today. Sticky notes are a huge passion of mine. I use them all the time. I use them in teaching. I use them to remind me of things, everyday life, all that good stuff. So if you are a sticky note aficionado like myself, power to you, love them. Yeah, so I wanted to just go through with you something that I have myself been going through recently, and that is looking at the manuscript that I would like to have published again, reflecting on it, and then the process that I am currently going through to make it the best possible piece I can before resubmitting it. So I want to take you along that journey with me. The first thing I wanted to reiterate, and I know I've talked about this a little bit in past videos, and if I am reiterating quite a bit, my apologies, but it's sometimes good to come back to things time and time again with a new perspective. And that's the first thing I wanted to touch on, was that new perspective. I believe I have mentioned that I had a hiatus for quite a few months recently. I took a break with this whole COVID craziness and switching from teaching in a classroom to teaching online and homeschooling my own children. And my mom's been having issues. She's been in the hospital. She's out of the hospital now. So it's just been a crazy, crazy time. And I had fallen out of love with my writing. It was not working for me. I was sort of humbled by the process, beaten down a bit by the process of putting my manuscript up for publishing. So I took a break. I took a break for a few months, and then I came back to it recently, probably within the last month or so, and it has renewed my vigor for writing and my passion for it. And that break was immensely helpful and immensely inspiring, and it also gave me perspective on my own writing, and I came back to it being willing and more open to look at it objectively instead of subjectively. I was so attached to my manuscript personally. As I said, it was like my whole entire heart being handed, here you go, here's my heart. Please take it and destroy it. So I was too close to it. I couldn't see the flaws in my writing. So that break gave me huge perspective. So if you are struggling with your work right now, take a break. I know I have read advice that says, no, write every day, even if it's garbage, just write. In my personal opinion, that break meant a huge difference to me. I think you need to own what works for you and do that regardless of what advice, including my own, is out there. You need to listen to you. And if you are saying, no, I'm done with this, be done with it, but just for a while. And then when you're ready, come back. It will pull at you. There will be a pull and a need to sit down and start writing again. So that's my first point. My second point, and I've touched on this before, but it's a very powerful tool, and that is to read your work out loud. Read what you have written out loud, and then continue writing, and then read it out loud. You can read it to yourself out loud. Read it to your children, read it to your spouse, your partner, read it to your cats, your dog, whoever is available. Read it out loud. It is a hugely powerful tool, because when you're reading your work out loud, it takes on a completely new breath, a completely new life, and you can see problems that you can't see when you're reading it just quietly to yourself. So that's a very important tool. It is for me. It helps incredibly for giving me perspective on my writing, and listening to how it sounds, because everybody reads differently, but it actually gives a voice to your writing, out loud and proud, and you will catch a whole lot more mistakes or things that don't quite sound right, or that you trip over in a sentence. So read out loud. Okay. My next one, and these may not be in order, I kind of just wrote things down as I thought of them, so my apologies if I kind of go like this, but this is how my brain works sometimes. We are not a linear road, but certainly a windy, curvy, spinny one. Pay someone who knows what they are doing and what they are talking about. I've mentioned this before. And it doesn't have to be an editor. It could be a mentor or a published author, someone who really understands the writing process, understands grammar, understands sentence structure, understands how to do dialogue properly, understands flow and character development, understands the difference between telling your story and describing your story. I touched on that a bit before. Tell versus show or describe. Taking something, we sat down and ate dinner, to a conversation at dinner time that shows an interaction between your characters. There's a big difference between the two, and I have had my eyes open to that fact very clearly in this this last round of edits that I have done. It is worth the money, especially if you can find someone that you trust, someone who will literally go through your piece line by line by line and write you notes. This is wonderful. This doesn't make sense. This is misspelled. This should be a new paragraph. What do you mean by this? This timeline doesn't make sense. Everything like that. You have the period in the wrong place. You're not putting your quotes in the right place. All of that. It is worth the money to invest, because you're investing in yourself and your belief in yourself. And I believe in you, so believe in yourself. That's a hard one, I know. Okay, number 4, and I kind of touched on this with number 1, be in a mental and emotional space to receive criticism and feedback. And sometimes that break is exactly what you need in order to be open to this. When I received the feedback about the show and the tell and all of that stuff back in October of 2019, so not ready to take it or listen to it or apply it as best as I should have. And that really hindered the quality of my work. So, but I wasn't ready at that time. And after a break, after a few months away, after a perspective change, I came back and I was most definitely more open to that. And it's constructive criticism, it's good criticism, it's criticism that definitely has enhanced my writing, and I've become a much better, well, yes, tooting my own horn here, much better writer, I think, than I was even just a few months ago. So time is a very precious commodity that can be a huge gift to your writing. All right, don't be afraid of rewrites, because you will go through a ton of rewrites. I think this is probably my 4th or 5th rewrite of the entire story, my entire manuscript. The beginning, the introduction, beginning has changed probably 4 times. The tone of it's changed. Everything's changed. The story hasn't changed. The way I am telling the story has changed. The interaction between my characters is more real. based on what I'm seeing with my kids. So I've talked about writing something that you know something about, something that you see, something that you're invested in or passionate about. For me, it's my kids. They're the main characters in my stories. They're who I've based, I shouldn't say they are who I've based the main characters in my stories on. Hence why it is so incredibly personal, this whole process. But I was told that they weren't real. I had only taken their very best qualities, and that's what I had focused on in my manuscript. Kids aren't perfect, adults aren't perfect. So that imperfection between the two, that relationship, that poking each other, that realness is what has made my story more meaningful. And I think it's what kids are going to relate to a whole lot better and see themselves in those two characters. So rewrite after rewrite after rewrite, get people to, again, pay someone or have beta readers or have your friends or family read it, and pick people who will honestly critique you, who will be honest with you with your writing. It's not helpful to have someone read it and say, oh yeah, this is great. Okay, that doesn't give you any platform from which to jump off of and make it better. So choose people. Pardon me, I ate lunch not that long ago. My apologies. Welcome to live well, not really live, but you know, taping and then in one shot. Yeah, there's lots of me that you're gonna see. But yes, be prepared to rewrite. And again, you need to be in a place where you can handle the feedback that you're getting. All right. This is a very personal one for me because I have learned, I've made this mistake. Make sure your manuscript is in the very best place, best possible place it can be in before you start submitting. So I was so eager to submit my work and get it published that I ignored the feedback that I was given. I modified and adjusted to a certain degree and thought, yep, this is great. And I put it out there. Thankfully, I haven't put it out there to everybody, or I really would have screwed myself over. But having that break and that breath of those months in between, now I come back and go, holy man, it's virtually a different manuscript, so much better in my opinion, and that's been echoed by a couple of the people who've now read the third, fourth, whatever version of this, saying that it's actually really, really good now, maybe more worthy of publishing. It's hard when it's yours to be objective about where it is, but if there's any gnawing at you that, oh, I think I can make this better, take that time and make it better before you start submitting. It will be to your benefit in the end, hands down. So take your time, make sure it is in the best possible shape that it can be in, because you'll only do yourself a favor by doing that. All right. Be forgiving of yourself, especially if this is your first rodeo like it is mine. You're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna screw up, you're going to think things are great when they're not, or you're going to be overly critical of yourself when you don't need to be. Be forgiving and gentle with yourself, because this process is it's probably one of the hardest things you're going to go through. Not just the please publish my work process, but then the okay, now I have to sell my work process. It's a huge deal, this whole journey. It's a big thing. So be forgiving. And then my last piece of advice today is, I see my little timer at the top going, woo, I'm already at 14 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So square your shoulders, don your armor. This is an intensely emotional ride. Emotional highs, emotional lows. You're going to feel attacked personally because it is your work. You're going to be elated if someone acknowledges how wonderful your work is. It's a roller coaster ride. It's wonderful and horrible and amazing and disgusting and all these things wrapped up into one. But if it means something, if it means everything to you to do this, do it. But just have that armor on and be ready to be on the receiving end of those punches, because it is going to happen, or on the receiving end of absolutely nothing. Because what my experience has been, I think I've submitted it to 6 or 7 publishers, and I've only heard back from one. And it was a beautiful letter. They just don't publish the genre. I thought they did, but they don't publish the genre that I am writing in. And it was, they said, you've got a lot of great stuff here. We wish you all the best. It was very nice. But out of those 6 or 7, I got one response. So 9 times out of 10, from my personal experience, you're not going to hear a thing if it's a no. So you have to be okay with oblivion as well. So my fellow writers, or whomever is watching this, if you're just watching it to, I don't know, feel connected to someone else in the world who is struggling with everything that's going on, I'm here for you. I would love to know your thoughts, your comments. Please keep them positive and not hateful. I think there's so much going on in the world right now. We really, really need to focus on being there for each other, being respectful of each other, no matter what gender, race, sexuality, whatever. Who cares? We're all human. We're all in this together. We really are, because what happens across the border impacts you, whether you know it or realize it. So I think we all need to be gentle with each other. You need to be gentle with yourself and gentle with all those around you. And I just wish you all the best on this journey, and I am here for you. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I really, really do. Thank you for joining me. And until I see you in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. Please stay safe, stay strong, and be kind.